I avoid high fat content or sugary foods.
Yeah.
One, because I know they're addictive.
Yeah.
And if I go down that rabbit hole of just like, I can finish a pack of Haribo, you know, just a few handfuls.
Yeah.
Just a few handfuls, you know, I won't even offer anyone. There were periods when I would have a pack every day because it was just a habit. I've just turned 38 and I've noticed my machine is not functioning like it used to. Please, do you have any advice, as I don't want to disappoint my wife?
What's going on, guys? The Goodman Factory presents Checking In. We've got me, Kel, hosting with Aleem. We're two medical professionals. I'm a GPST2 at the moment. He's a GPST1. We'll be talking about health generally, going into a few more specific topics. We'll take it from there.
Okay.
Bro, how you doing? How you doing today? Sunday?
Yeah, Sunday, end of a long week.
Yeah.
Another long week to come.
Yeah.
Just taking it each day.
Yeah.
All good. How about you?
I'm good. Same old. Back to work tomorrow. Recovering from Focalistic. Of course. So obviously we'll just talk about health generally today. We've got a few more specific topics. We said well-being first and foremost though. And how do you even define well-being? What would you define it as? Because obviously with these things, there's always a medical type of definition. And then there'll be a definition that's sort of layman's terms. So how do you sort of define well-being?
That's a good question. Well-being, wellness, I guess is quite personal. Factors that lead to you feeling well. And I would say feeling able to do your daily activities without difficulty, you know, not feeling too fatigued, not feeling too stressed, and also not feeling like you're restricted. I.e., let's say if you had a significant health condition that's restricting your ability to do certain things. So for me, what I like to do is I like to exercise. I like to be able to work without feeling drained excessively. And I like to be able to just, you know, have fun. So that's wellness to me. Yeah. Quite a long-winded definition.
I would agree with you, but I'd say it's something I think that it differs in terms of difficulty. Do you know what I mean? I think for us it's key. For everybody it's key, to be honest, but for us it's key in quite a high-stress job. How would you say you sort of, especially when you said you make yourself feel rested, how do you sort of get to that point of making yourself feel rested?
You have to be holistic, you know? You need to design your life in a way that allows you to be productive in ways you want to be productive. Yeah. So let's say you like to play sport. Let's say you like to wake up at a set time in the day. That could mean having to sleep earlier as opposed to sleeping at midnight, sleeping at 1 a.m. Yeah. If you sleep out, if let's say I slept at 1 and woke up at 6, if I did that for a few weeks, I'll feel more drained than if I made a conscious effort to sleep at maybe 10 o'clock and wake up at 6. So that's one important factor, sleep. Then the next important factor is what I eat. Yeah. You know, if you're, let's say, going to the gym, if you're doing a type of job where you're quite active, you know, walking up and down the ward non-stop. Like me personally, I do about 20,000 steps a day, which is a lot, you know. So if I'm not eating, if I'm not staying hydrated, I'm going to see the effects of that. Whether it means I'm going to be hangry, you know, whether it means I'm going to be drained by the time I've finished my shift and have no energy to do anything else. Those are things I have to be holistic and think, okay, how do I design my day so that I can actually be productive in ways I want to be productive? So sleep, nutrition, exercise, all of that, really.
And it's funny, it's something interesting as well, but especially, I don't know about you, but when I speak to patients on a general sort of basis, and even speaking for myself, to be honest, as well, you have to really educate yourself in terms of diet. I think in the general public, there is a little bit of ignorance in regards to what a good diet is, what a bad diet is. And I think, to be honest, whether it's our education system or, you know, for some reason, there's a little bit of that sort of knowledge gap when it comes to what is a good diet, what you should be eating. Do you see what I mean?
Do you think?
I think so. Even if you're talking about...
Do you think you're maybe cutting people a bit too much slack?
Listen, I'm not here to criticize anybody.
Because I feel that there have been a lot of public health efforts.
They have been,
to
yeah.
put it out there.
They have been.
You know, nowadays they actually put calories, fat content,
it's true,
etc.
It's true
on packaging.
It's true,
you know?
but ask yourself though, they're putting calories, they're putting protein content, they're putting fat content. You need to ask yourself: do people even know what these sort of basic terminologies
they know it they may not understand the nuance.
Yeah,
but they understand
that's fair.
Too much fat isn't good.
That's fair. Yeah,
too much sugar isn't good.
That's fair.
You know, you can get maybe a pack of crisps, and it's already 95% of your saturated fats for the day.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's not about fine tuning your diet so it's perfect, because you know, perfection's not for everyone.
You're not gonna,
and you might not have good quality of
and it's
life.
not feasible, to be honest, in most cases.
Yeah, if you're just trying to be like nitpicking with everything you eat, but usually it's a case of an extreme. You know, like too much fat, too much sugar, as opposed to balance. And it's a case of, I think, autonomy. You know, people are free to do what they want. And it's act now, deal with the consequences later.
It is always,
these will be the consequences. How do I kind of mitigate for them? I don't know.
It's true. I always tell patients as well that like everything is an accumulation. So, you know, eating KFC today,
it's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. But you need to think, if I'm eating KFC every other week, 5 years, 10 years, do you know what I mean? That cholesterol build up, that cardiovascular risk is only increasing year on year.
If you're having pizza or frozen meals, chips, burgers, pizza, you know, every single day of the week, you're not having any vegetables, then the cumulative effects of that tied in with sedentary life is really a case of, this is where you're gonna end up. And I don't know, I think what would be good is, you know how you have those kind of CGI apps where they show how people look 40 years from now. Like, just in terms of through age, like if there was something whereby
so people could see the lasting effects.
Said, okay, your risk for having diabetes by the age of 50 is here compared to if you did XYZ. Because I don't know, I feel like unless you've maybe seen someone go through these kind of health conditions,
you'll be a bit ignorant to it.
You'll be a bit ignorant.
It's true.
And even sometimes if you've seen someone go through those conditions, like optimism, you might think, oh, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, of course. So, especially at this age as well. At this age, you're not thinking of 50 years, I'm going to be in XYZ position, to be honest.
So what do you tend to do for like wellness?
I mean, I'm a gym guy, but at the same time, you know, we're here talking about vegetables after a bit. My diet could be better, to be honest. So that's why I said, you know, I cut people slack, I think, because I speak from my perspective. Obviously, everybody's working, or most people are working. You're working 5 days plus a week.
It's hard.
It's tricky, it's tricky. It's tricky to be doing Gordon Ramsay whilst you're working. Do you see what I mean?
What do you think the barriers are to eating better?
It's always time restrictions, man. It's always time restrictions. It's time You know what? It's time restrictions. It's laziness as well. Like, I have to be honest, because you can always plan ahead and do X, Y, Z to get ready. But it's that combination. You'll come home from work. It's Sunday night. Do you see what I mean? You can do meal prep, or you can just do one meal that's going to do you for Sunday. When tomorrow comes, do you know what I mean?
And obviously, that's obviously you being in the kind of heart of having a very strong awareness.
This is what I'm saying.
And if
I'm like that,
time, you know, then people who don't really see that.
That's what I'm saying.
They're just going to be thinking, oh, come on, man, you know,
that's what I'm saying.
Exaggerating.
That's what I'm saying. So I end up cutting people slack. But yeah, for me, it's gym, being conscious of it especially on a daily basis in terms of what your dietary intake is like. So, you know, it's a bit excessive probably, but I'm the type to be tracking everything.
Your diet, I assume, is like 90% protein.
To be honest, it's 90% protein. It is 90% protein. No more, you know, fufu and all that stuff anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's 90% protein. It's veg here and there, fruit here and there. You know, minimal carbs and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like being conscious of my diet is one thing. Gym as well. Sleep, you know, where I can sort of optimize it. And so it's similar to you, to be honest. And I think also just generally having a bit of a positive mentality as well. I think I would actually say you can sort of put that into the whole picture of well-being. Having a positive sort of mindset. It's tricky though, you know, these things are always circumstantial. So I never sort of say everybody should and will be doing this, because the circumstance you're in will change how your mindset is.
It's true.
It'll change how you do things. So
that's true. And I think one thing that's important is when people say they struggle to make time for a lot of things, whether it's improving their diet, improving their sleep, improving their exercise. One thing that's neglected is the fact that when you do these things, they actually have a positive effect on your mental well-being. And that's why I try to make a conscious effort to do them. Because I know that once I start to let these things slip, that's essentially a sign that probably my mental well-being is starting to 100% to go downhill. 100%. And it becomes a vicious cycle, when you stop going gym for a few weeks, or even let's say a week or so, getting back into it,
it's tricky.
Tends to be a bit difficult. Same with eating good. Once you kind of slack off for a while, it then becomes a bit difficult.
Definitely.
And then it's the time which makes you feel like you can't do it. But if you make that initial investment to get it done, it starts to have a really
100%
positive impact.
100%. And it's funny because that's something that I say to patients all the time. Obviously, if someone's got a high suicidal risk, you're not going to say to them, okay, try and go gym 5 days a week and start eating healthy, But in someone who maybe finds that over the past few months, their mood has been sort of slipping, etc., they're sort of displaying symptoms of depression. One thing I always say to them is try the holistic things as well. Obviously, you can take a medication route first and foremost, but I always say to people, try the holistic things as well. And when you do quiz them about if there have been changes to their lifestyle, they'll be forthright and they'll say to you, listen, I've not been going, I used to go gym this to this. I'm not going gym as much. I'm not really eating well and stuff like that. So they'll give you that sort of perception, and you realize that, okay, if you try to get those things back on track, even your sort of the pride you take in yourself sort of improves, and that can improve your mood as well. So therefore, it's important.
But in terms of exercise, so I'm assuming you tend to do lots of
both
of us.
We're doing. And to be honest, I think the crazy thing is if you ask them, especially for males, if you ask. The majority of men are doing weight training, of course. They're doing weight training, which, as we know, is not conducive to being the healthiest.
Yeah, because I think...
it's not at all, man.
Nice guidance is to get 150 minutes of moderate intensity.
Exactly.
75 minutes of vigorous intensity aerobic activity. And then strength training twice a week. But
And
aerobic activity is something that people tend to...
sort of ignore,
unless you're playing football once or twice a week. It's quite important.
Yeah. And I think I'm pretty sure when it talks about weight training, it recommends light to moderate weight as well. It doesn't recommend going and maxing out your PRs every week. So
as an example, it says grocery shopping. But we live in a world now where you basically don't really need to do much. You can order your shopping to your house. You can order takeaway to your house. You can basically hire someone to do your ironing. So like I was saying, these days people are doing less than they would in the past. So shopping, you can order shopping to your house. You can order fast food to your house. You can get someone else to do your ironing. Get someone to do your cleaning. So we're becoming more and more sedentary, and the guidance tends to emphasize on avoid sedentary activities, So you get
everyone's working from home and everything as well.
Working from home,
which comes with its pluses, but yeah.
Think of when we were young, we would be outside. These days, kids are either playing video games.
It's the iPad, man.
Or watching people play video games. So, that's something we need to get away from. Otherwise, it's gonna have huge effects.
It's true. Again, it's the accumulation. It's always the accumulation. So it's sitting down for this long over X amount of years is what causes the problem. Doing it for 1 or 2 weeks here and there, over a long period is where you have those detrimental effects. Definitely. But it's funny, as you said, things are more convenient. And it's funny I was talking about time because we probably live in a period where things are more convenient than they ever were. But we still struggle to make time to do the things.
That's the funny thing, because essentially we're able to outsource so many things. But which means we should have more time.
To optimize our own self.
So if you're not having to do a huge grocery shop on the weekend, you should have time to go for brisk
No, it's
stroll.
true. It's true.
But that's why I feel it's a case of choice.
You say it's a cop out, yeah?
Not a cop out, but I just think people just don't enjoy being health conscious.
Yeah.
That's it. It's maybe not enjoyable, but it's necessary. So that's the thing.
It's initially, especially even with like a fitness journey, like it is kind of boring. This is all quite dull things. Do you see what I mean? We speak of gym as being the main source. It's probably the most popular and most convenient source of living healthily in terms of exercise and things. But to be honest, people can do other stuff. I've seen girls now doing pole dancing. Do you see what I mean? And you know what? It's I see people criticizing it, but it's more about finding fun in whatever you're gonna do. Do you see what I mean?
That's the thing.
So anything that is gonna bring that activity, and if you can get enjoyment from it, that's a plus as well, because then your motivation is always there with it.
Because I would say I find going to the gym fun.
Yeah, exactly. Same.
And when I go to the gym, I'm not thinking, okay, I'm trying to reduce my risk of getting ischemic heart disease, trying to reduce my risk of getting diabetes. Yeah. Maybe when I'm eating, maybe when I'm eating it's different because I avoid high fat content or sugary foods. Yeah. One, because I know they're addictive. Yeah. And if I go down that rabbit hole of just like I can finish a pack of Haribo, it's just a few handfuls. Yeah. Just a few handfuls. I won't even offer anyone.
5 minutes is gone.
Exactly. So I try to avoid it. There were periods when I would have a pack every day because it was just a habit. But now I make the conscious effort to just avoid it because I know it's
the effects of that.
Yeah. So it's maybe more through diet. I'm happy to eat less palatable food because of the long-term benefits than, let's say, physical activity. Physical activity I enjoy. But even when you like reduce all the kind of sugary foods, the high-fat foods, you then tend to get a different appreciation of the kind of raw stuff.
Yeah. It's all about sort of conditioning yourself a little bit, especially in the initial phases. I think you condition yourself a little bit, and then what tastes a bit crazy initially starts tasting completely fine. So I think people need to have a little bit of patience with changing your diet quite rapidly and with starting off in exercise and things. I think that initial perseverance is very important. Once you get through that stage, the teething stage, then it's fine, to be honest.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But one other thing, obviously mental health, a big side of things. I think especially post-COVID, I don't know about you, but the amount of patients you come across who sort of, the first thing they'll say to you is, COVID, after COVID, my mood's just been and it is something we said is a big aspect of well-being, being positive, etc. I would say anecdotally, definitely seeing way more patients with sort of low mood, anxiety. I don't know if maybe post-COVID people are a bit more conscious of things, a little bit more, but definitely you're getting more and more patients with that. It's tricky because whilst there's an element that's circumstantial and then it's based on the situation you're in, obviously there's underlying pathophysiology with that. There's underlying mechanisms with that. But, would you say you're sort of seeing more patients with sort of depression, low mood sort of as well?
I would say no.
No. This guy's
but obviously that's because I've been in specialties.
True, yeah.
So like when I'm working in neurology or surgery, someone's coming in because I think they've got appendicitis.
Yeah.
But no, with mental health, it's a huge topic, and it's like the way I see mental health as mental health is just essentially like your physical health.
Yeah, 100%.
A sense of positive well-being. Yeah. And then the point at which it becomes a mental illness is when your symptoms are having an effect on your quality of life.
Your day-to-day.
Your day-to-day, which means you're having increased difficulty, whether that's anxiety, which means you don't want to leave your house, you don't want to do certain things, depression, whereby it has effects on your appetite, your sleep. Yeah. When it's severe, you can have psychosis as well.
Yeah.
And then there's like a host of other mental health illnesses that we see, like psychosis, bipolar, substance and alcohol disorders.
Abuse, yeah.
So it's a huge one. And how do you approach your own mental well-being?
Again, I think, I can only speak for myself, obviously, but for me, I'm generally kind of a positive person anyway. So I can sort of, and I think I'm very self-aware in regards to how my mood is. So if my mood is starting to slowly become a little bit lower, like I'll take those steps to sort of almost scrutinize myself.
What does that look like?
What does that look like? Yeah. So for me, like you said, it's a bit of lack of motivation with certain things. Maybe that manifests with a little bit more irritability, a little bit more agitation, you know, whether that's in relation to people or circumstance. And I think in those sort of circumstances, I'll probably look back and, you know, sort of look at myself and say, what's going on? You ask yourself, what's going on? You ask yourself.
You have good insight.
Yeah, but I think it's important to have good insight. That's the thing. It's important, but it's not easy at the same time. That's the thing. It's not easy at the same time. So I definitely will check in with myself. And you sort of become conscious that, especially after a long day at work, for example, I know, for example, I finish a long day at work and I've got adrenaline in my system. Do you see what I mean? And in those moments, I'm probably a little bit more aggy. So you come, you ask me stupid questions, I'm going to blast you. But I know that, okay, post-work, give me like half an hour. Let me just, you know what I mean? The nerves will sort of go down. You're relaxed after that. So it's definitely about the insight and knowing what sort of situations are going to trigger certain moods, etc. You know? So that's definitely me. And like you said, sticking to some form of routine is important. Yeah. Keeping that normality is important. You know, keeping that discipline is important. Because that helps definitely. But what about you?
I think routine, very important. Emotional intelligence, very important. So being able to understand your own emotions.
Yeah.
You know, that's maybe not one of my strong areas. So it might be someone telling me you're a bit withdrawn. And me having to reflect on that.
Yeah.
And try to think of why.
Yeah.
Something that tends to be very a strong indicator that maybe I'm a bit stressed. My mental health isn't that great. Is my sleep.
Okay.
So I tend to have really weird dreams.
Really?
Like really weird, vivid dreams. And that's essentially
what, like bad ones or?
Usually.
Give us an example, man. Come on, man.
You know, dreams. You wake up, you can't remember them.
But you know they're vivid.
But they're just weird dreams.
Yeah.
Like just bizarre dreams.
Yeah,
if I have a bizarre dream, I just know I'm stressed.
Yeah.
So whether I've been able to understand through my behavior to others or whatnot, I just know that means I need to work on.
That's really interesting, you know.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because if you told me you're having strange dreams and that's how you know you're anxious or depressed, I tell you you're talking nonsense, mate.
But you know, people,
but you know, you know for yourself.
Yeah, so like obviously early morning awakening tends to be a hallmark of depression.
Yeah,
whereas
true.
with me, with anxiety, stress, it's more, my dreams tend to be bizarre. And that could be because I've got maybe exams or
coming up,
overwhelmed by maybe the fact that I'm going to be working 10 days or something. And I've got maybe other commitments. So that might just reflect on the fact that I'm not sleeping well.
Yeah.
And it might just mean, you know what, I just need to fine tune my commitments.
Yeah.
So as opposed to going to work, going to social commitment, going back to work.
Yeah.
Maybe it just means go to work, get home,
100%.
chill, rinse and repeat.
100%.
And not try to do too much.
Definitely.
The long-term result of that is burnout.
Yeah. And, you know, it's funny because in our profession, obviously, burnout is something that you hear burnout 100 times. I wonder, to be honest, in other professions, if they have that same sort of emphasis on it. Because definitely for us is very important. There's, you know, the stats as well in terms of depression and things, you know, even though it's more common in women, generally speaking, you definitely see that men present much later with much more sort of suicidal risk, much higher suicidal risk, even worse so when you sort of break it down to our demographic. So, you know, black men, you know, you see that we present much later with sort of, sometimes in sort of psychotic episodes and things like that.
Is that something you think has gotten better? Because I remember when I was applying for medical school, I started a job as a support worker on a psychiatric ward.
Yeah.
And that's probably 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
I had no idea what mental illness was.
Really?
No idea.
To be fair, you know what? Yeah.
And of late, obviously, there's been more conversation about the topic.
Definitely.
People are getting more comfortable engaging in conversation about it. Would you say there's now less of a barrier for men coming in?
100%. I would say there's less of a barrier. There's definitely work to be done. I think, you know, we can speak on our culture specifically, but we come from culture where, you know, listen, your dad is not going to tell you that he's feeling depressed. Your uncle's not going to tell you he's feeling depressed. That doesn't even exist. Do you see what I mean? You know, if you tell most African parents you're depressed, they'll look at you thinking, you know, what is... For them, it's a fleeting emotion. If
it's
anything,
it's not in the vocabulary.
Exactly, it's not. It doesn't exist. So I think even though there's been, generally speaking, an improvement, I think it will take a little bit for our culture to sort of switch and sort of.
How about amongst our peers?
Amongst our peers, I think definitely is you know, especially for us who were born here, you know, we almost adhere to both our sort of our culture from back home and here, so we are a bit more conscious of that. We're a bit more open to speak about it. So definitely, I think in our peers is much better from that regard. Unfortunately, as well, there are people who know people who have been, you know, who have had, you know, all sorts of complications, who have been victims to sort of quite severe mental health. So it's almost forced people to have a conversation, which, you know, is sad, but in a way is good that we're sort of talking about it a bit more. So it's definitely improved in that regard. I think people are now sort of more aware that you need to check in with your friends, you know, those sort of basic things.
Yeah.
You know, you need to go and make sure those who maybe, like you said, when people are a bit more withdrawn, like you can be, you know, people know that if my friend's a bit more withdrawn, let me go and check on him and just make sure, you know, he's all right or she's all right. So
no,
so definitely it's whereas before, for example, like you said, 10 years ago, if someone's withdrawn, you might actually not really think too much of it, you know, whereas now, you know, people are very, very, if anything, that people err on the side of caution when it comes to, I haven't heard from my friend in X amount of time. I need to, you know, who knows what he's done to him. You know, people are much more aware of what can happen. So definitely, I think there's been improvements in that sort of front, but it needs to improve further, you know. Anecdotally, whenever I get guys coming in and they're talking about low mood and depression, there's almost a bit of shame that they have that, you know, why am I feeling like this? And it's sad, to be honest. And you sort of tell them, listen, it's completely fine to talk about your feelings and, you know, be honest. Yeah. Be honest with how you feel, sort of thing. So yeah, definitely. There's a long way to go.
All right, guys, I've got some questions from the Goodman Factory community. Just going to read a couple of them out now. Okay, so first one. I've just turned 38 and I've noticed my machine is not functioning like it used to. Please, do you have any advice, as I don't want to disappoint my wife?
No, it's not actually that uncommon, you know. So obviously when I've had, you know, when you get a patient who comes in with erectile dysfunction, obviously the sort of main things you're going to look at are if there's an endocrine issue, so an issue with hormones, if there's an issue in regards to stress, you know, depression, low mood, anxiety, so psychiatric sort of symptoms that can also sort of affect your performance, let's say, then you're going to think of cardiovascular risk as well. So, you know, when you have cardiovascular risk, when you think of how sort of erectile dysfunction happens and how an erection happens as well, you're thinking about how vascularity is, so how vessels are. So you need to think about those three domains. You know, anybody who comes in with erectile dysfunction. So for this guy in particular, obviously, first and foremost, he needs to go to his GP.
Yeah,
he needs to go to his GP. Young. Yeah, he's very young to have that.
Prime.
Exactly. This right now, listen, there should be no issues, my friend. So he needs to go to his GP, and it's gonna really and truly, all his GP would do in an initial sort of thing is take a history to find out if he does have any sort of cardiovascular risk factors. If he does have any psychiatric sort of issues going on, if he does have any signs of any hormonal issues as well, it will be a battery of blood tests initially. And that will sort of go deeper into all of those issues and see. And then it goes from there, to be honest. A big thing, to be honest, a lot of the times, especially in someone who's 38, is probably going to be more so leaning towards the psychiatric side of things. It's unlikely there's going to be sort of big hormonal issues or big sort of cardiovascular issues at that age. It's easy to say, obviously, from our side, but one thing is people need to relax.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean? You need to relax and just enjoy the moment you're in, sort of thing. But, you know, obviously it's easier to say that.
Definitely book an appointment with the
100%. Yeah. That one, you can't self-manage that. No over-the-counter crazy drugs. I know people be taking some crazy stuff.
That stuff is OTC now.
That stuff is, yeah.
So next question we have is, how much exercise do I need to do to stay healthy?
So obviously, as we touched on it a bit earlier, to be honest, we're saying like 3 to 5 days.
So 150 minutes, moderate intensity. So that's essentially exercise whereby you feel a little bit out of breath, but you can still maintain a conversation. And 150 minutes 75 minutes of vigorous activity where you're out of breath, you can't really maintain the conversation. And then in addition, strength training.
Yeah.
Both like the same body part about twice a week. That's it to maintain a healthy lifestyle.
So you could split that. How many days would you split that over?
Well, if you play football, 90-minute game, that's vigorous intensity.
It's true.
You know,
It's
if
true.
you do squash a couple of days a week, if you do Zumba, or so it's like 2 evenings a week dedicated to aerobic activity. You're gonna get what you need.
Yeah. And when you put it that way as well, it's actually not that much. To be honest, it's quite easy to hit that. To be honest, I think sometimes people set their expectations very high, and when they don't hit that, exactly. Or it's
when
that
starting the gym and you're like, I'm going 7 days a week.
Exactly. Listen, you don't need to do. What are you training for?
Other things that people can do as well, like as opposed to getting the lift, they live on the first floor.
Exactly.
They can get the stairs.
Exactly. When you go Asda, just park a bit further and walk.
So many different things people can do. So next question: how can I improve my immune system?
So to be honest, generally speaking, it's going to be big dietary factors. Sleep.
Sleep, very important.
Sleep is very, very important. So one key thing is obviously is the vitamins, So you can sort of go to a Boots and get your vitamin C, etc. Ideally, if your diet is good enough, you're probably getting the majority of everything you need from your diet. Things like zinc, magnesium, etc. You can get from your diet, to be honest. So
unless you've got any reason.
Exactly.
Impairing your ability to absorb these.
Exactly. It's unlikely. So if you've got some sort of bowel issue, which affects your absorption, it's unlikely you're going to have any issues from that point of view. So I think it's a good thing to touch on, because sometimes I see on Twitter and stuff, people are taking magnesium, people are taking all sorts of supplements. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, have you even checked your magnesium first? Yeah. So it's a little bit, you've got to be a bit careful with how you're supplementing over the counter and things. But generally speaking, diet and sleep are the big sort of main domains. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe. Obviously, it's a community podcast, so everything we do is based on what you guys want to hear. So bring in questions, interact with us, and the shows will be sort of guided to what you want. But it's the Goodman Factory checking in. I hope you tune in for the next episode as well. Take care.